Hello everyone, welcome back. We're going to start on our beautiful turtle. I've pulled out colours that I think is what we need to be able to do this absolute beauty. And in this tutorial we're going to be using the anthracite. This is Clairefontaine anthracite, very dark grey, and the reason I've chosen it is because we have such a dark background, and I just thought that to try and get this very deep sea colour on sandpaper is going to take a lot of pan pastel. So I'm going to try it out, and what I'm going to do is I've pulled out the colours. I see all of these colours in this gorgeous turtle. These are the pan pastels that I've pulled out. These colours, the oranges and the ochres and the browns, are in this area, and the turquoise and the blue are obviously in this area. And then we have the raw umber tint. This is the white that I always use. And then I'm going to be using the blender for the first time. And this, they say, is colourless. And they say that it blends colours together quite easily. So we're going to give that a bash and see what that is all about. And then for the background, I've brought in these two. And I'm not too sure about this very light ultramarine yet. I'm not too sure. I might bring it in up at the top here. I've also got this turquoise color. It's quite dull. Not sure that that'll be, I might mix those two together to create this color underneath the chin, the neck, and you can see here, which is a reflection, I think, of the sea that is showing there. Then as far as the pencils go, we have loads of them, and I'll put all of these in the description. I have loads. I've got a brown, I've got this lighter brown, I've got this grey color that I see, then I've got this off-white grey color, and I've got plenty of ochres and creams. And then I brought in this yellow ochre color because I do see this is slightly brighter on the top of the animal. I've brought in this oxide sort of color, purple oxide sort of color, because I see it here and in a small area here. So yes, it's a lot of colors, but as you know, this is what happens with anything that we do with pastel. So let's start. I haven't traced the animal onto my piece of paper yet because I first want to have a look and see how these colors stack up on this anthracite. So I'm going to move this across out of the way, moving my sample in our view, and we're going to start. So I'm going to start with the background. I'm going to start with this color here. Just going to put that in our view. I've got my soft tool, just putting the sponge on it. I've got a blending stump, need the mono round. I have a piece of kneaded eraser, and I have a small blending stump for the tinier areas. So let's get cracking. Let's see what this does. So I'm going in with ultramarine blue extra dark. And I'm just having a look at how this, and it actually blends beautifully on here. I have to say that this paper is a lot smoother than the sand. And that actually looks very nice. It's slightly brighter, but I think we can live with that. There's some of the Payne's grey. I just thought that the Payne's grey would give it just a different kind of sea look. And that's blending beautifully. Gosh, this graphite is out of this world in comparison to the sand. If I bring this color in, let's have a look and see. Okay, so it's a bit bright, but we do have this brighter color at the top. Now I'm going to try this blending color. Colorless blender, it's called, medium in color transparent. Let's see what that gives us. I'm interested to see. Okay, so it does blend, but it does change the color, I have to say. Can't say that that doesn't change the color, even though it says that it doesn't. So let's have a look. Okay, so we're getting a tint. That's what it's doing. It's giving us a tint. So let's have a look at the at the dark, deep ultramarine. Yeah, giving us a tint. That's all good. That's very, very good. So we will be using that. I'm going to go back in, going over those sections that I've just tried here. Yeah, it looks good. It looks very, very good. Okay, great. So we'll be sticking to those colors for the sea, for the background. And then I want to have a look at this green. I see this green here in this area. We could use a pencil for it, but I want to try and see what happens if we use a pan pastel. So now I'm just turning my soft tool over so that I don't transfer that dark color into these oranges, browns and ochres. And I'm going to have a look at this area and see what I can produce. So I'm going to put some brown down, and that's hardly even noticeable, but that's fine. And if we put some of this burnt sienna on top of it, we move these out of the way. Burnt sienna on top of it, yes. Very, very nice result. You can see that that is that area that I'm busy with. I'm going to put a bit more of the brown down because we do want the dark color underneath, and then we want to get that lighter color on top, and that's looking really beautiful. So that is working really well. Let's have a look at this lighter brown. Yeah, it's giving us another beautiful tone. Let's have a look at where is that blending. Make sure that I have the blending one. It looks so much colorless blend. It looks so much like the white. Let's see what it gives us. So it's giving us a tint, which is great. It's not a bad thing. I'm going to go back in with the brown along the edge here. And that is this. I have to say that this anthracite is a beautiful, beautiful paper to work on. Much, much better for me than the sand. And we're getting that blend of color that we see. That's great, great, great news. So we can that, and then I'm going to go in with the raw umber tint. We have used this before. You guys all know how much I love this color, and that's giving us a really nice contrast at the top. That's what we want. And these colors are working really well together. What's so nice is that this particular pastel mat is not ruining my soft tool, which is great. Okay, so, and then obviously we're going to go in with the pencils. Okay, so if I look at this color, I do see this underneath. I just want to see how it stacks up. Yeah, it looks all right. It's actually going to work. This is bright yellow green shade, and that'll work. That'll work with those colors. And for that particular yellow oxide shade, I'm going to put in a bit of that because I do see this color in there, and that's working perfectly as well. So that's also great. That's very, very nice indeed. So we'll put those to one side with our background colors. This is yellow oxide, so that's slightly brighter, and I do see that in this area here. So if I look at that, it does have, I think it's raw umber tint underneath it. Yes, it is. And if we just move this up so that it's in the camera. So if I'm looking at this area here, it's with raw umber tint, putting this down and then putting this color on top of it. And we are getting this area here. And if I take our burnt sienna and put some of that on top, that works really well. That is beautiful. Look at that. Stunning, stunning, stunning. Okay, so we're in with that color as well. And the burnt umber, no, this is raw umber tint, my bad. I do have this color out. This is orange shade. Just want to see what it gives us in terms of, yeah, that's beautiful. So that is also working because we can see it here. There are many, many shades. I mean, it's just insane how many shades are in this gorgeous animal. So we will be using that. So far, we're using everything. And if I look at this turquoise, I'm going to turn this over just so that I don't contaminate it with orange. Just turn it over like that. Going in with the blue. And that is there. That is that color. I think this one is going to be a bit bright now. It is there though. I mean, that is that shade. This one, turquoise, and then this one is called turquoise shade. And they are in there. Both of them. So I'm afraid to say we're going to have to add that to our artillery. And then if I look at pencils, so I've got so many pencils out, but I've got this beautiful grey. So let's start. Have I got a black out? No, I haven't. So there is a black. I can see the black in this area here of the eye. That shows up really well. So that's a Faber-Castell black. And then we've got the grey, which is the Carbothello, which is that little highlight there. Trying to see where else it is. I don't really see it anywhere else, but that is fine. And then if I start going into the OT sort of colours to ochre, that works there. Obviously we have white. I'm going to go into this pale olive, which is a Derwent. We use a lot of this, and that works extremely well as well. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Although they're not the same shade, but they could be mistaken for it. So I'm trying this white. We have this white that goes in between the shell pieces. So I'm trying out this white, but I do have a new white. So these two are what were recommended to me. This is a Chinese white, and this is an azurite white. So let's have a look at the Chinese white over this. I'll see that I have got pastel. Oh yeah, that shows up beautifully. It's probably a bit too white. So let's try this one. Okay. Still preferring this one, believe it or not. But these two are apparently excellent for whiskers. I just want to wipe this off of my finger before it goes all over my picture. So these two apparently are excellent for whiskers. You can get a very, very light or thin. That one looks a bit thick. That is the Chinese white. So we'll be testing those out in another tutorial where we need fine fur and whiskers. That's white. We need that. So this is a soft white. This is not going to work on here. You can see how much better this is. This is a Faber-Castell, and it says that it's soft, but it does work a whole lot better. And we can literally color it in. We can sharpen this with the Afmat sharpener. It works extremely well in that. And now we're going to go into our other colors. This is this color down here, this violet gray. I want to see how it stacks up on this anthracite, and that's gorgeous. That's exactly that color right there. So that one's staying. Then we have this brown, which is for the darker areas, and that one is staying because it's here. It's in this area here. And we have this color. I'm going to try it. I'm thinking it's underneath here, but I want to see. Yep. It could almost be used here in this area. So we need to find something for that area. This color I pulled out, it is a sort of a purpley color and could probably be used around this area and the foot. So that will stay in. Then we've got these sort of terracotta colors that I see across the back of the shawl, and that is a hell of a bright, so that one we won't be using. And we have this color, which is also hugely bright, so I'm not too sure about that color. This is an ochre color. That's a lot better. So I'm going to keep that, but I'm a bit worried. Let's have a look. Yeah, that looks a lot better than those other two. So that, I think, works better. Let's have a look at this one. This is a Carbothello. And that is a deeper, darker color than that. So we'll keep that. And then I've got this yellow, because I do see a yellow in there, in this area. That'll stay. And then I have the saffron, which is a Derwent color. And that is completely different to any of those. And that color, where do I see that? Let's see if we can mix that brown and this together to get that color that I'm looking for. Yes, so that's what we'll do. That's in that area. So we'll mix those two together. That works perfectly. Then I pull out this blue in case we need to put some detail in here. And that is very, very blue, but that's fine. Because there is detail here, but it's probably more white. And there is a green color there. So let's have a look. This green color, it's a bit too bright. So let's tone it down a bit. What have I got? This Faber-Castell. That's probably more like it. Do I have a duller green than that? Let's have a look and see. That one's too bright. What has happened to my little... Got the olive. We're looking for something, and we're looking for something here that is not as in your face. Let's have a look here. Burnt orange, Derwent. Let's see how that stacks up. Oh gosh, no, that's not going to work either. Dark olive, but I've already got this one out. Pale olive, dark olive. I don't have dark olive out. What does that look like on the blue? Probably would work. So we've got that green done, and I'm still looking for something that could work here. Let's have a look. Sanguine dark. That will probably work. What does it look like? Let's have a look as to what it looks like on top of this orange. So now I'm taking this orange, this burnt sienna, laying some of that down, and then I'm going to put some of that pencil on top just to see how it works. I'm going to take some of the blender. Yep, this is the blender. Just want to see what I get here. Yeah, you see that's working perfectly for this area here. So that is working very, very well indeed. And so it puts a bit more of this orange in at the bottom here. And then we can put some of those colors over it. What was the color? Here it is, here. So let's have a look. I'm first going to put in the white. So I'm going to demarcate that section of that. So I'm going to have a look here. Chinese white. Chinese white. I am going to sharpen this quickly. I'm going to turn off the video because it's going to make one heck of a noise. I'm going to see if I can sharpen it. Okay, well that didn't work. That broke off, which is a hell of a shame. So I'll have to sharpen it with my knife, but that's fine. I'll get back to that. It's just that I wanted a finer line because that is finer. And if I'm using that, it's going to literally make it thicker than what I want. So that, let me just have a look. That is sort of working, and then I want the brown. Let's see if I can get brown along there. And if we take our blending stump, we blend all of that together. We get that shadow, but I do want this. We can build it up with this, and this should really go in between. And I think that that is working. It's not perfect. Trying this one again. It's a bit too red. That one's a bit too orange. Mind you, maybe that one could work. But it's just too bright. But it does look like that color is in there. So let's pull those two colors out and keep them. Putting these two away, I do have another color, Stabilo. Let's have a look. And that's probably it. Yep. That is it. So, if I do this brown, I'm just going back over it again. I'm glazing. I'll put this back in. That works really well. So those are the colors. I'm still going to keep these two in, even though perhaps it's a bit of an overload. But I think for all intents and purposes, we have our colors, which I will put into the description. And they're working really well on our anthracite. I think it's going to be beautiful. If I look at that and I look at the turtle below it, it looks like it's going to really be a beautiful, beautiful drawing. Okay, so the next tutorial is tracing the turtle onto the paper. Hello everyone. In this lesson we are going to transfer our beautiful turtle onto our pastel mat. I have masking tape. I have my little clay tool that I use to trace it, all the detail. I have the transfer paper, white. I'm hoping that this will work on this very, very dark anthracite. It's made by Primark. It comes in sheets, and this is what I have bought. Then I have my picture, and it's extremely dirty, full of all the pastel that I was using earlier on in the last lesson, but that's fine. It actually looks quite nice. We may even add a little bit of that to it just to give it a bit of movement in the background instead of it being so flat. So I have cut my paper in, I think it is a 25 by 23, and that's to fit into a 20 by 20 frame. I always cut it slightly bigger, obviously, so that I have room to move, and also that it is slightly bigger than what is going to be framed. So in other words, that my drawing, painting, extends past the frame or the mount that it's going into, so that you don't have paper showing. So I'm just taping mine down, taping down the corners. I live in a very, very humid place, and probably by the time we do the next lesson, you'll find, or you'll see, that this piece of paper is completely curled up. But that's fine, I'm used to it, and I just know what I need to do to prep my surfaces for that. So let's have a look at this. I'm really hoping that it works and that I don't have to resort to white pastel on the back of the print that I've printed out. So it has a right side and a wrong side. and you can see, and it smells very, very waxy. This is the side that transfers on, and I'm going to lay it in line with the actual piece of paper, and I'm going to put my turtle on in the middle. So in fact, I'm going to cut away the white. Just give me a minute. Right, so I have cut away the white pieces on around this photograph, and if you look and see, there's a lot of blue, and I quite like that there's more blue on one side than on the other, and I'm trying to center it because ultimately I want this to fit into a 20 by 20 frame. Sorry, I'm just getting my ruler out. My pencils are going nuts here. So obviously this is not 20 by 20, the actual printout, but this way is more than that. So I'm trying to fit my turtle into this. I don't really like that it's so close to the edge, so I'll probably cut my mat board on this side to 22, and I've given myself enough room to be able to do that. So I'm going to place the turtle sort of here. I just want to have a look and see. Also, the other thing as well is that if I'm putting it into a 20 by 20 frame, it's 23, so that is 3, that's 1.5, so probably about there. Is this turtle in the middle? Because you don't really want it in the middle. You want it, I'm going to move it slightly down. You do really want the rule of thirds as much as you can, even in a difficult situation like this. Now the other thing as well is that I'm not going to tape, I'm not going to mask it down here because this will definitely tear. So I'm going to be very, very careful and use my hand and just hope that it does not move at all. I am putting a little bottle of Daniel Smith watercolor ground on it just to keep it there. Going to go around. I'm hoping that this is going to work. Going all the way around. I'm going to lift it in a minute, just to make sure that it is. Yes, it is. That's great. You don't want too much of a transfer. You just want enough to be able to see the detail, especially this eye. This eye is very, very important. We have that. And then we have around the eye, the socket. We have all of these markings. This looks like the nose. That's the other eye on the other side. Going across, coming down, making sure we get the mouth in the right position. And then we have all of these shapes, and we need all of these in here. It's going to be quite tricky. This is probably quite an advanced tutorial, but hey, we've got this and we're going to do our best. Getting that shape in, and this one here looks like, I think they call that a beak, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, doing good. Good on this side. And I'm going around the shadows, the shapes of the shadows. They are really important. That is what gives us a 3D effect on flat paper. Quite remarkable that we are able to manage that. We have a lot of wrinkles and beautiful shapes. I don't know if they're scales. I usually Google and look up, and I haven't done it on a couple of the animals that I've done, which I'm really feeling like I should do, because the more you know about the animal, the better when you draw it. Bring it down all the way around this flipper. We have this gorgeous white edge on this flipper, And then we have all this absolutely stunning array of shapes. To get all of these in, we're going to be doing this in pencil because there's a lot of detail here, and we do want to get as much of a likeness as we ever possibly can. Okay, all the way up, and I can tell you right now that I'm pretty sure I've already left out a layer here because there's just so much going on, this hexagonal diamond shape. And you know, if you look at it and you don't observe what is on here, it looks like a mishmash of shapes, but it actually isn't. Here's a round, and then it's almost like a flower that goes around that centerpiece. So I want to make sure. There's another one. There's a centerpiece and there's a flower. Look at that. That looks like a flower. And we have petals. Here's that flower again. And here's another one. Look at that. There, all the way around. Flowers. And this is a distinctive line that runs up here. So we want to make sure that we get that in. Because, and this, look at this. This is distinctive too. So we're not just going to randomly put these shapes in. We're going to make sure that they make sense to the viewer. Don't have this in. Just keep checking what you have put down, because it's so easy to miss something. Got all these little marks here which are also important. Got the edge of the shell. All the way along. And then back up here again. This is very, very white. It's obviously caught the light. Making sure I get all of these shapes in as well. Because again, they do look random, but they actually aren't. There's almost toes. And then there's this shape that goes up that way. And those are pretty random. But we want to get this shape in. I've got that whole foot in. Yes, I do. Yay, yay for me. So I'm going to leave all of that. This is a shadow. I'm putting that in, but I'm going to leave this area because it is pretty random and we can follow it while we are drawing it. And even this bottom part of the shell, we need to get these shapes in. There we go. Okay, now I need to get this in. Oh, I think I've just moved my picture. Darn. It was all going so well. Let's see, I hope not. No, it seems to be all right. Seem to be holding it down pretty firmly with my left hand, which is great news. Going around and getting all of these, would they be called scales? Segments? Not sure. See, that's why one should really Google and find out, because the more you know, the better it is for your drawing. putting these shapes in, because that is an area that has putting that in just so that I know where these shadows are. And then there's white behind here on the neck, and then we have all these lovely crinkle wrinkles. And I do have this in on here. And I'll have that in. And then I just want to put this in just to demarcate the shadow. Okay, here we have all these bits of brown that are showing. I think I've got the whole of the face, and I just want to get that line in. This, and we have that. There's also these shapes under the mouth. Got that in. Got that in. Right. I think I have everything in. I've done the whole thing. Got the flippers in. You don't see this, the other one. The back foot. That. Let's just make sure that I realize that that is the shadow. This whole thing is the shadow. Okay, I think I have everything. So we have now traced it on. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demarcate where I want this to end and where I want it to start. And I'm going to use my white pencil. So I'm putting it into a 20 by 20 frame, remembering that I do want it to go off of the edge a bit. So I'm going to measure at the top here, and then I'm going to measure 21 down the bottom. So I've got half and half, but I have more up here than I do down here. And I think that that is a good idea. And then this way is going to end up being more. So it's going to end up being 23, 24, which is fine. And let me see if I can maybe just make it 23 by 23. No, I can't. I don't have enough here. So I'll make it 22 by 22. That won't be too far off. 24, and that is just so that I know how far to take the blue background, and that I know that it's going to disappear into the under the mount when I frame it. That's all that this is for. And I'm now going to have to move my masking tape, because I can see that it is going to interfere on this side. I don't have much, but do remember that this pastel mat is very expensive, so you want to make sure that you utilize every little bit of it that you possibly can. So I'm just going to move my masking tape so that it allows me to, and you can see that that white is transferred. Can you see that? How black that is? It's so interesting. I didn't think that that would happen or could happen, but it has. It just shows you how chalky it is. So we want to make sure that, as I say, that that the blue goes right underneath the mount of your frame. So you need to add at least 0.5 millimeters. I think that that is 1/4 of an inch to your whatever size your mount is. Okay, I'm safe now. And in the next tutorial, we will start on the background. So that is beautiful, and I see that I've moved this completely out of line. But anyway, that is beautiful. We are gunning ahead, and we have a beautiful transfer. This is what it looks like up close. You can see that it is really a good transfer. I can see all my detail. It's perfect. Okay, so next tutorial is definitely going to be the background. It's very, very exciting indeed.